Macho was this bigger-than-life character. He was a pure showman, and he could back it up with...
Junior, you got Omar Chavez, Canelo. I mean, you got some of the top names in boxing.
The end. He's a champion who is proud. No one...
The guy that was sitting next to Camacho gets out of the car and tries to...
who brought a new flair to the sport in the 1980s and 90s. No arrests have been made.
Later, another car pulls up, two guys get out.
He survived car crashes, arrests, overdoses, and scandals that would have buried most men long before their time. Yet somehow, Héctor Macho Camacho kept walking into the storm, untouchable in the eyes of his fans, unstoppable in his own mind. But then came 2012, the night that silenced the chaos once and for all. Camacho was found slumped in a car, a gunshot wound to his head, surrounded by bags of cocaine. The scene raised more questions than answers. Was it a drug deal gone wrong? A targeted hit? Or payback for something darker? The kind of score that gets settled in shadows, not courts? Camacho had enemies. He had secrets. And for 10 years, justice stayed silent. So how did one of boxing's brightest stars become a marked man? And why did it take a full decade for suspects to even be named? To understand that night, you need to understand who Héctor Macho Camacho was at his highest, and how far he fell from that peak. Picture Las Vegas, the fight capital of the world, packed and roaring, the spotlight burning down on the ring. Héctor Camacho stands at the center, a champion in sequined trunks, that signature curl resting on his forehead, a mischievous grin already tugging at his lips. He knows what's about to happen before the crowd does. The judges' cards confirm it seconds later. He's done it. He's schooled Jose Luis Ramirez for the WBC lightweight title. His team lifts him on their shoulders, and in that moment, Héctor Macho Camacho isn't just a fighter. He's a phenomenon. A king. The embodiment of speed, swagger, and style. It was his apex, the kind of night fighters spend their whole lives chasing. And yet, in hindsight, it was also the edge of the cliff. He would have big nights after that, but he would never again be that fighter. The warning signs were never subtle. Behind the dazzling footwork and flamboyant entrances was a man burning at both ends, a life fueled by excess, drugs, and chaos. The very demons that gave him his edge in the ring were already dragging him toward an abyss outside of it. For every brilliant performance under the lights, there were stories whispered in the dark, reckless binges, dangerous company, close calls that could have ended him before his career even began. The question isn't how it ended so badly. The question is how he lasted as long as he did. To really get it, you have to rewind to where Macho came from. Born in Bayamon, Puerto Rico on May 24, 1962, Héctor Luis Camacho Matias was the second youngest of 5 children. His parents split when he was just 3 years old, and his mother moved him to New York City, where the streets became his real upbringing. Spanish Harlem shaped him, but it didn't nurture him. Chaos was constant. Violence was normal. By his teenage years, Héctor wasn't just a troubled kid. He was a live wire sparking in every direction. By 16, he'd already fathered a child. He was arrested for stealing a car and sent to a correctional facility. When he returned home at 17, his mother caught him with cocaine. The fuse was lit, and everyone around him knew it. The path ahead was either destruction or salvation, and most didn't expect him to find the latter. Adults tried to intervene. 6 psychiatrists, countless school officials, and even the system itself tried to make sense of the hurricane inside him. None could. He was expelled from at least 6 schools. He couldn't be contained, but then, against all odds, one teacher found a way. A language instructor named Pat Flannery pointed him toward karate and then boxing, two outlets that gave him rails to run on. For the first time, Hector had a place to put the rage, a place where chaos could look like discipline, where speed and aggression could be celebrated instead of punished. His mother, determined to give him one more chance, flushed his drugs and demanded he make a choice. He chose boxing, and for a time, it seemed like it would save him. But here's the truth. Even when he put the gloves on, the addiction and the chaos had already climbed into the ring with him. His Hall of Fame career was always going to be a double-edged sword. The same personality that made him electrifying also guaranteed his downfall. The brilliance came packaged with destruction. Still, when he was young, it was the brilliance that the world saw. As an amateur, Camacho was a storm of talent, racking up a 96-4 record and winning 3 Golden Gloves titles. By 18, he turned pro, and it was obvious he wasn't just good. He was special. His speed was supernatural, his angles baffled opponents, and his flamboyant personality made him impossible to ignore. He didn't just win fights, he owned the room. The outfits, the entrances, the way he shouted, "It's Macho time!" Before he put his foot down in the ring, it wasn't a gimmick, it was a declaration. He wasn't there to participate, he was there to take over. His rise was a surge, not a climb. His 22nd fight was all ready for a world title. Rafael Limon, a hardened ex-champion, stood across from him. By the 3rd round, Limon was on the canvas, twice more in the 5th, and then it was over. Héctor Macho Camacho was a world champion. At 22, he was on top of the world, and the boxing universe knew it wasn't hype, it was hierarchy. He wasn't just promising, he was the future. He didn't stop there. He defended his super featherweight belt once before moving up to lightweight, where he demolished José Luis Ramirez in Las Vegas in what many still call the finest performance of his career. That night, his footwork was poetry, his hands were lightning, and his confidence was untouchable. He was more than a fighter, he was a showman. He was macho. But even at his peak, the storm outside the ring was building. The cracks were showing, even if fans refused to see them. 2 fights before his world title shot, he was scheduled to face contender John Montes. The night before the bout, Camacho went on a cocaine binge so destructive that he tried to throw himself out of a hotel window. His team had to physically restrain him from killing himself. 12 hours later, he walked into the ring, grinned like nothing happened, and erased Montes in less than a round. That was the paradox of Macho. He could self-destruct at midnight and dominate by noon. He was that good. But to those who really knew him, it wasn't brilliance anymore. It was survival on borrowed time. The stories piled up, each one crazier than the last. A traffic stop where he wasn't pulled over for speeding, but for driving too slowly. A woman sitting on his lap, cocaine in the car. A cross-country drive where his childhood friend and bodyguard, Rudy Gonzalez, discovered Camacho had been carrying a kilo of cocaine, nearly driving them both into a federal nightmare at the Mexican border. Somehow, Macho escaped it all. Border guards turned into autograph seekers. Canine units sniffing at the car somehow let them pass. It was luck, charm, or maybe just the chaos that seemed to bend reality around him. And that's the thing about Héctor Camacho. His career wasn't just a testament to his talent, it was a miracle that it even happened at all. Because behind every fight night, there was another story like that. Another near miss, another disaster averted. The fact that he became a world champion, that he stood under the bright lights in Vegas as the pride of Puerto Rico and Spanish Harlem, is almost unthinkable when you know how wild his life really was. But the demons didn't leave him. They never did. Even at his best, they were there, waiting for their moment. And as his career continued, the toll of his lifestyle, the close calls, and the growing recklessness started to show. The man who once seemed untouchable was beginning to slow down, and in the brutal world of boxing, slowing down means your time is running out. By the time Héctor Macho Camacho walked into Madison Square Garden to face Edwin Rosario, the shine was already starting to fade. Rosario wasn't just another opponent. He was a test that would push Camacho in ways he had never been pushed before. The fight began the way fans expected. Camacho sharp, quick, dictating the pace. But by the middle rounds, Rosario started to claw back. The pressure mounted. For the first time, Camacho looked vulnerable, his speed checked, his composure rattled. In the end, the judges handed him a split decision win, but the truth was written on his face. That night cost him something. The version of Camacho who had dismantled José Luis Ramirez, the fearless showman with lightning in his hands, never walked into the ring again. After Rosario, the Macho Man became different, safer, more defensive, still slick, still skilled, but less willing to take risks. He could still win, still outpoint opponents, but the wild brilliance had dimmed. It was as if that one fight showed him how close the edge really was, and he never wanted to lean that far again. For many fans, the Rosario fight marked the beginning of the slow decline. Not in terms of victories, he still piled those up, but in terms of what made him special. Still, Camacho wasn't done stacking accolades. He beat Ray Boom Boom Mancini for the inaugural WBO light welterweight belt, becoming a 3-division champion. At 34-0, he seemed untouchable on paper. But boxing isn't written in records alone. The chaos outside the ring was seeping in. His unbeaten run came to a screeching halt against Greg Haugen in 1991. The fight was ugly, bitter, and close, ending in a split decision loss that stained his aura of invincibility. Haugen tested positive for an unknown substance afterward, a controversy that only added fuel to the fire. A rematch gave Camacho redemption, but the damage was done. The myth of being unbeatable was shattered. Meanwhile, his personal life mirrored the turbulence of his career. He married, had 3 children, and for a moment, it looked like stability might calm the storm. It didn't. His wife eventually filed for divorce and a restraining order. The man who could dance circles around opponents couldn't escape the chaos of his own choices. He once admitted, without shame, "I like it. I love it. You met me like this, and I'm going to stay like this." That was the essence of Macho, unapologetic, reckless, and convinced that the rules didn't apply to him. By the mid-1990s, the slide was impossible to ignore. He shared the ring with giants: Julio Cesar Chavez, Oscar de la Hoya, Felix Trinidad, and lost to them all. There was no shame in losing to names like that, but the pattern told the story. He was half a step slower, half a beat behind, and at that level, half a step might as well be a mile. He still had big wins, but they were hollow. Stopping a 41-year-old Sugar Ray Leonard might look impressive on paper, but everyone knew Leonard was long past his prime. Outpointing Roberto Duran at 47 years old wasn't greatness, it was survival. The Macho Man wasn't beating legends at their best. He was closing their careers for them. Then came the darkest chapter. In 2012, after years of arrests, drug use, and brushes with danger, Camacho found himself back in Bayamon, Puerto Rico. His son described his father's world simply: drugs, sex, and jail. Friends begged him to leave. He said he wanted out, but the quicksand had already swallowed him too deep. That year, he was shot at in his car. He survived and shrugged it off, insisting everyone loved him, that no one could want him dead. But with hindsight, it looked more like a warning. The real blow came just months later. Sitting in a car with his friend Adrian Mojica Moreno, an SUV pulled up. Windows dark and gunfire erupted. Moreno died instantly. Camacho took a bullet to the jaw. The path of the round was devastating, shattering vertebrae and arteries. He was rushed to the hospital, and at first doctors said he might survive, though paralyzed. But within hours, his body gave in. Cardiac arrest, catastrophic brain damage, machines keeping him alive. His mother made the heartbreaking decision to end life support. At just 50 years old, Héctor Macho Camacho was gone. For a decade, no one was held accountable. The whispers suggested everything from old debts to wrong company to simple proximity. Maybe Moreno was the target. Maybe Camacho inherited someone else's enemies. But nothing concrete came. Until 2022, when 5 suspects were finally arrested, 3 already in Florida prisons, 1 in Puerto Rico, another already incarcerated there. 2 more suspected figures had died in unrelated incidents. 10 years later, there was finally a path toward justice, though fragile. Camacho's mother said what fans had waited to hear: justice has been done. But for many, the questions still linger. Did Macho's lifestyle doom him? Was he a victim of the company he kept? Or was he simply too reckless, too bold, and too willing to believe that his charm and fame could shield him forever? The truth may never be fully known. What is certain is that Héctor Macho Camacho was a man of contradictions. A brilliant fighter, a showman like no other, and yet a deeply flawed soul who lived on the edge until the edge finally claimed him. So, what do you think? Was Héctor Macho Camacho's death the tragic conclusion of a reckless life? Or was he taken down by forces bigger than himself? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of boxing's most complicated figures, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another story like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.